Alright, for today's video I've got this. It's a list. I'll sit it over there. My water bottle because it's hot out here, and I've got this gosh darn plant. I wanted to say another word dangling over my head, which is from my lovely wife Naomi. She loves plants, you can tell. I can't take credit for the way this deck looks. She's got a bit of a plant problem, but I've got a bit of a talking too much problem. All right, let's get on with it. My name is Jeremy, of course, one of your very favorite people with Parkinson's. Here to talk to you about the frustration that it sometimes can set in when you're waiting for a Parkinson's diagnosis. Mine took years. It's overwhelming. By the way, I've got kind of getting over a cold, so I'm a little stuffy. So, any one of these symptoms could be explained by numerous things. And that's the problem with waiting for a Parkinson's diagnosis. Basically, my understanding is they have to rule out pretty much every other reason before they get down to Parkinson's, because it's such a rare thing, especially amongst people in my age bracket. When I was diagnosed as it was at 36, and I'd had symptoms probably since early 30s, maybe even before then. So let me go through the list of symptoms here that I was experiencing either initially or as the disease progressed, and how confusing this was to me, because this was like whack-a-mole. It was like so many different things that these symptoms could have been. First symptom that I can really remember was my left hand being stiff. I talked about this before in my video, my first symptoms. So it's rehashing, but I'm making a point here. Could have been for my job. I worked a very physical warehouse job, filling orders. Shoulder, once again, turned steering wheels on forklifts all day. My shoulder was weak, and I would get stuck. I would like, it was almost like I had a spring, and then, like, you know, one of those wind-up toys, and then when it gets to the end, it just stops. My voice, because of a cold now, obviously, but I sang in a rock band, so I was screaming a lot. I probably didn't take care of my voice like I should have. Didn't warm up. I eventually learned how to do that. But that's a symptom of PD, a soft voice. That was definitely going on with me. My feet. Now, I've got ugly feet. I'm not going to even show you a picture of them. But I eventually started having really weird foot pain, like along the sides of my feet. And I went to a podiatrist, and she said, do you paint, or do you do roof? Goddamn, my screen's all jacked up. I'll cut this part out. No, I'm going to leave it in. I'm frustrated. I got to fix some crap over here. But yeah, I mean, I walked up. She said, are you a roofer, or are you a painter? You look like you walk up and down ladders all day because your feet are like so fractured. I had stress fractures all over the sides of my feet. No, it was PD, but once again, I worked a very physical job. I was stepping on and off forklifts and pallet jacks all day on pallets. Here's another one that you wouldn't really think. Mood changes. I started having problems with my temper, which I've confessed to in other places. Depression, massive depression, apathy. But that's, once again, that I went and saw a doctor for that. I saw a psychiatrist, and they gave me some antidepressants, which actually made their own set of problems. Panic attacks. I'd had them before when I was younger, but they just came rushing back for no reason that I could tell. My handwriting, now I'm not going to lie, I've never been a real John Hancock, so to speak. My handwriting has always been sloppy, but I remember having at least one or two people tell me, I can't read your handwriting, or it's so small. I think it's called micrographia. I could be getting that wrong. Look it up, folks. Google it. I talked about this before. My face stopped. I stopped moving. People say, why are you angry? You always look like you're angry, like you're ready to fight somebody. I was just kind of grimacing or getting those wide eyes when you're trying to do something, when you're concentrating real hard. So that was another symptom. weakness, just overall feeling weak. My arms were weak, my hands were weak. I remember trying to put on gloves at work, and I couldn't get my hand in the glove. And I showed one of my coworkers, and he goes, "You need to go get that looked at, dude." I'm like, "Well, I did. They told me it was carpal tunnel or something like that." And then the exhaustion, just the overwhelming feeling of like having 50 pounds strapped to your back and 10 pounds on each leg. Just every step was a struggle. I remember not having energy to do things with my wife and my friends. My wife complained. She said, "What's wrong with you? You're tired all the time." So that was definitely a struggle. But once again, there were so many different symptoms that it could have been any number of things. I was talking to an orthopedic surgeon for my shoulder and neck, because I was having stiff neck too. Neurologist for my hand. I went to a voice doctor and a voice coach for my voice. I went to psychiatrists and psychologists for my mood problems. I went to physical therapy at one point for my shoulder. They gave me these shoulders exercises, which did not help. So when you present that to a doctor, just that one symptom, like the voice or the feet. I went to podiatrist. They're not seeing the whole picture. Now, you can tell them all you want, but until you really probably go see a movement disorder specialist or a really sharp neurologist. I was diagnosed by a neurologist, a real smart lady. There are no doctors getting the complete picture. And I mean, the first time I walked into the neurologist, she was in fact the lady who had done the MRI or the nerve conduction test on my hand. And at the time, I didn't have any other symptoms that I was aware of. When I went into her office the second time, she said, "Touch your nose, click your fingers," and she said, "I'll be right back." I told her I was feeling fog and just mental fog and fatigue and I actually did have a slight tremor, but only if I was completely at rest and held them out in front of myself could you see my tremor. It was real subtle. So she came back and said, "You have Parkinson's." And I was actually, got to tell you, I was relieved. It was relief because I remember reading a book when I was a kid. Notes are blowing away. I remember reading let me sit on them. I remember reading a book when I was a kid about Lou Gehrig and how terrifying it would have been they said he would be out taking batting practice or out fielding, and he would stumble and he would trip. It creeped up on him, and before you know it, he was like completely emaciated. He couldn't even move or walk, and he was dead within a very short period of time. So that was my big fear, that and a brain tumor. I really knew something was wrong with me. So when the doctor said Parkinson's, there was this weight that lifted off my shoulders, because I remember telling my wife at the time, because I was shuffling around the neighborhood. We were going down a hill, and I was having trouble lifting my feet off the ground. And she said, "Why are you shuffling your feet?" And I said, "You know what? I think I have Parkinson's." She goes, "You don't have Parkinson's. You're only 34 at that point, 34, 33. Thank you. Years old. But I was right, so there was a relief, but it's a very frustrating experience to need an answer and not get one. And I would say about 15 to 20% of my comments and messages lately have been about people struggling to get a diagnosis, and it's going to take a while. They've got to rule everything else out. I mean, and it's the right thing to do, but I would just say this: talk to your general practitioner and tell them the severity of all the symptoms together. Maybe you can get an early detection if you can actually paint the picture for them. Because my foot doctor would have no way of knowing that my feet problems were from a gait disturbance regarding Parkinson's. My vocal doctor, I mean, he's like, "You scream in a rock band?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Bingo. I had vocal cord nodules. They put a little camera down my throat," and he's like, "Yeah, your vocal cords have got some scarring on them." But that was not volume related. My voice hurt, but I should still have been able to push it out, but my voice was weak. So hang in there, guys. I know it's frustrating to not get a diagnosis right away. And I mean, I would say from start to finish, it probably took anywhere from 3 to 4 years to get my answer. Now, hopefully it won't take that long for you guys. I should have been more proactive early on, but I kind of ignored symptoms because, I mean, I was working. I could still do my job because it was a lot of just lifting and like there was no fine motor skills. But it really started to concern me when my guitar playing went down. And then my right hand, my strumming hand, started to get real slow, and that's what really started to freak me out. I started having trouble counting money. So hang in there, guys. Let me know what you think of the video. Let me know what your experience is with your diagnosis, how long it took. I love this channel. I love talking to you guys. It's a lot of fun. I feel like I learn something from you guys every time I put a video out. So until next time, peace and love from my deck in St. Louis. I said deck.